The Champions League quarterfinals is back again, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for the second leg of the Champions League quarterfinal fixtures. Last week, we saw some crazy games with crazy score lines, loads of goals being scored, and a few upsets here and there. And this week, I expect some more crazy fixtures to take place. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my score predictions for each of the 4 quarterfinal games. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Starting off with the first game we have on Tuesday, it is Barcelona against PSG. If we go back to the first leg game, it was an absolutely incredible match. It was very 50-50. Both teams had a decent amount of possession, a lot of shots, and obviously PSG were playing at home, but they weren't able to secure the win, and Barcelona did come out on top with a 3-2 victory. In that game, yes, PSG may have had more possession and they may have had more shots as well, but Barcelona took their chances wisely and they were able to silence the best player in the world, Kylian Mbappe. Obviously, Mbappe is one of the best, if not the best player in the world in terms of his shooting, his technical ability, his pace, his passing. He is a very well-rounded player, and if he has a good game, he could possibly score 1 or maybe even 2 goals in this game. But if Barcelona defend properly and defend very compactly like they did in the first leg fixture, then I do think Mbappe might struggle again. Obviously, in the first leg fixture, Barcelona did have a few players back from injury. We saw Frenkie de Jong play for almost the whole game, and even Pedri come on as a substitute, and he actually ended up getting an assist for the final goal. So with that midfield coming back from injury, I do think Barcelona are now stronger than what they were about a month ago. Obviously, in the first leg game, I did predict that PSG were going to win because with that home advantage, I expected them to play a little bit better. But defensively, they weren't really performing to their best, and Barcelona clearly took advantage of that. And in this game now, Barcelona do have the home advantage as they are playing in Spain. I think this is going to be much tougher for PSG to come away with a win. Obviously, PSG definitely do have a good chance, and they are still a very good team. But if Barcelona defend well like they did in the first leg, they silence Mbappe, they silence some of the other PSG attackers, I do think Barcelona are capable of advancing into the semifinals. I would love to see another crazy match where PSG come back and end up knocking out Barcelona, but in my honest opinion, I do think Barcelona will advance to the semis. I think this game will end in a draw. I'm going to predict 2-2 and Barcelona will advance. Moving on to the next match on Tuesday, we have Borussia Dortmund against Atletico Madrid. Looking back at the first fixture, it was a very strange game because Borussia Dortmund were clearly the dominant team, especially in terms of possession, where they had almost 70%. But with that 70% possession, they didn't create a lot of good shots. They didn't create a lot of good attacking opportunities. And for that reason, they ended up losing the game 2-1. Atletico Madrid barely even had 30% possession in the first leg, but they ended up having over double the expected goals as Borussia Dortmund. But this is nothing new for Atletico Madrid because even in games where they are getting dominated, they can't keep hold of the ball, they're able to come up with these good opportunities. And that is what is the most important, if you make the most out of your attacks. And that is what Atletico Madrid did in the first game, and that is why they are now up 2-1 on aggregate. In this game, obviously, it will be very different because, yes, Borussia Dortmund are currently down by 1 goal, but this game is being played at home. And if they are able to keep the possession like they did in the first leg, I think they will definitely turn this possession into better attacking opportunities and eventually into more goals. Signal Iduna Park is obviously a crazy stadium. Borussia Dortmund fans, in my opinion, are some of the best fans in the world. And I think this will be very tough for Atletico Madrid. But we've seen, especially in past Champions Leagues and other competitions, where Atletico Madrid, especially when they play in that defensive mindset, they are very hard to break down. And I do think this will be very difficult for Borussia Dortmund. We all know that Atletico Madrid are most likely going to come into this game with a very defensive mindset, as Diego Simeone usually does if he is up in a tie like they currently are. And I think they're going to play with a very compact defense, a lot of men behind the ball. And I think it will be very difficult for Borussia Dortmund to break down Atletico Madrid's defense. And obviously, with this being said, Atletico Madrid will most likely try and counter Borussia Dortmund when they are pressing very high up the pitch. So for that reason, I think this game will most likely end in a draw. Obviously, if Borussia Dortmund keep a lot of the possession, they do have the chance to score multiple goals, but with what they displayed in the first leg fixture, I just don't see that happening. So for that reason, I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw, and Atletico Madrid will advance to the semifinals on aggregate. Moving on to the Wednesday fixtures, the first game we got is Bayern Munich against Arsenal. If we look back to the first leg, it was a very high scoring game. Both teams ended up scoring 2 goals and it did end in a 2-2 draw. But in my opinion, I think Arsenal were actually the more disappointed team with the result because I think they were the better team on the night. In terms of possession, in terms of total shots, shots on target, passes completed, Arsenal dominates in almost all the stats. But Bayern Munich used their attacks wisely. They made good use of their passes in the final third and they ended up scoring 2 goals. Obviously, there were a few controversies in that game, like the Saka penalty, Gabriel picking up the ball. There could have been penalties to both teams, but in my opinion, Arsenal were still the better team, and I think they are the more disappointed team with that 2-2 draw. Now, with the second game being played in the Allianz Arena, the Bayern Munich fans are some of the best supporters in the world. They are absolutely crazy. I don't know if Arsenal are up to it. Obviously, Arsenal are playing absolutely incredibly so far this season in the Premier League, but in the Champions League against Porto and in the first leg against Bayern Munich, they didn't look as convincing as what some people would have expected. And for that reason, playing away from home in this fixture, yes, Bayern Munich may not be having the best season, but in the Champions League, they are always a powerhouse. They have some phenomenal players. And for that reason, I do think Bayern Munich will be able to beat Arsenal. It will obviously be very, very tough. Bayern Munich do have a couple injuries and Arsenal are on incredible form at the moment. But I still think Bayern Munich will pretty comfortably be able to win this game. With that home advantage, with the momentum from winning their recent Bundesliga fixture, I do think they will win this game, and I think the scoreline will be 3-1, and they will advance to the semifinals. And finally, the last quarterfinal game we got, which is probably the most anticipated game, it is Manchester City against Real Madrid. Obviously, we saw this fixture take place 2 years ago in the Champions League. We saw this fixture take place last year in the Champions League, and now we are seeing it again. And every single time Real Madrid face Man City at home, Man City usually end up getting the win. If we go back to the first leg game, it did end in a 3-3 draw. And in terms of the game for a neutral fan, I thought that was one of the best games of the year. Absolute entertainment from the start of the kickoff to the very end of the game. There was goals, there was crazy plays, and it was an absolutely amazing game to watch. But in terms of which team played better, personally, I think both teams didn't play that great. Obviously, Man City did dominate in terms of possession, but in terms of XG, both teams didn't even have one expected goal, and they ended up scoring 3 goals each, meaning that a lot of the shots that were taken in this game weren't high quality shots. They didn't get a lot of great opportunities, and to be honest, most of the goals were pretty lucky goals from both teams. In this game, I do think it will be much more structured. I think both teams will play with a higher confidence, but I do think Man City, obviously playing at home, will be the more confident out of the two teams. Obviously, you can never rule out Real Madrid, and with players like Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, and all of their incredible midfielders and defenders, they have one of the best teams in the world, and they can definitely get a result in this game against Manchester City. But we've seen it multiple times before, and especially if we look back to last year, this game where Man City were playing at home against Real Madrid was absolute torture for Real Madrid. I'm not saying Real Madrid are going to lose 4-0, but I'm saying that they need to play very, very well if they want to get a result here, because if they play similarly to how they did in the first leg game, they will get absolutely destroyed. For that reason, again, with the home advantage, I do think Manchester City will end up winning this game. Do I want Man City to win? To be honest, I'd rather Real Madrid win, because personally, I don't like seeing teams win the Champions League multiple times in a row. So I don't want Man City to win this Champions League. But if I'm being 100% honest, I do think they are the more capable team in this fixture. And with some of their advantages, especially the fact that they are playing in England, I do think Man City will win this game. And I think the scoreline will be 2-0. I think Real Madrid will struggle to score, and Man City will be playing in the semifinals. And that is the end of my Champions League quarterfinal predictions for the second leg fixtures. The 4 teams that I think will be advancing to the semifinals will be Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City. Those are the 4 teams that I think will advance to the semifinals. Obviously, if you guys agree with my predictions, remember to leave a comment down below. But if you disagree with my predictions and you think maybe Real Madrid, maybe Borussia Dortmund will end up winning their games, again, leave a comment down below giving me your score predictions, and obviously I will be replying to every single comment. Obviously, if you guys did enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.